When we're talking about underdogs, I can't go past the Aussie icon, Stephen Bradbury. How good was he? Had a lot of setbacks, had a couple of lacerations to his quad, lost 4 litres of blood and almost died. And it's interesting to hear that underdog story or the underdog tag. It's a bit like the blue-collar way and the actual Aussie way of Australia is you never count out an Aussie, and I feel like it just the stars aligned and it was meant to be.
Yeah, I think if you look at that race, you spoke about it before, about the Queenslanders, that mentality that you guys have, just that resilience, that never give up, play the 80 minutes as a player. Well, it was that, wasn't it, right? You see those guys ahead of him slide into the wall, metres before the line. But the persistence of he had to be there. He had to be there, he had to keep fighting, and he fought the whole time. Yeah, it was a pretty iconic moment, wasn't it, for the country? Oh,
it was massive. I remember just looking at it on TV and going, what just happened? And I'm sure a lot of people around Australia would have been thinking the exact same thing. And when I was younger, I used to think they were like all the people that obviously represented Australia was rich and loaded. And funny story, he finally got paid 20 grand and he bought himself a new car. And that just goes to show that they obviously sacrifice a lot for the Olympics, and they don't get a whole heap of money and the accolades that they deserve.
What's been your Bradbury moment?
My Bradbury moment? I think falling into the 2017 decider game in Origin would have been my Bradbury moment. You look at Jonathan Thurston, shoulder injury out for the season. Milford had a shoulder injury as well, and I think the only reason why Kevy picked me was because he had Cameron Smith, a hooker, Cooper Cronk in the halves, and Billy Slater as a fullback, and I was playing with that spine in Melbourne, so that was pretty much my Bradbury moment when you look at it. And I was pretty much carried my whole career with those blokes. So I think I had a Bradbury career, to be honest.
Mate, you announced yourself that night. That was a hell of a performance, that game. I suppose mine, Cam, I mean, as a young kid, when you think of the underdogs, that 97 grand final, Newcastle, the blue-collar town, Steel City, the actual Aussie way when we talk that, seeing the scenes out of Newcastle as a young kid, houses painted blue and red, the sea of fans as they travelled down the F3 freeway to play Manly, who were the glamour side of the 90s. Bob Fulton and all the stars, they'd struggled to beat them, let alone do it in a grand final. Andrew Johns, I think, in the prelim final at punctured lung. I remember the back page of the paper saying if he plays, he could die. And then all of a sudden, down 10-0. And the ticker and the fight that they showed to get back. O'Davis, 2 tries. Harrigan, Paul Harrigan going after Mark Carroll and just setting the tone for the day through the middle. And then Andrew Johns, like one of the most incredible moments. The shot at field goal hits the post, ricochets back. The game's 3-4 seconds from done, and he just goes down an audacious short side, and seeing Darren Albert come slicing through and just the rise of the Newcastle fans, the blue and red. When we're talking underdogs and resilience and just that never say die attitude, boy, that was, for me, that was one of the great moments in our game. I think maybe a little biased too as a rugby league lover. I think in Australian sport it was a hell of a moment.
I remember, it would have been on maybe Matty Johns' podcast. I remember him saying that they eventually practiced at a fair bit of training and even in the backyard. And it's funny when you do stuff a lot of training or you do something at home, that muscle memory, and when it comes in the game and it comes off, it's something special. And I'm sure, like, being from Newcastle, local, it would have been something special for you as a young kid.
I think, when we talk about our careers, you sort of always piece it back. And I think like that moment for me, being there as a kid in that stadium, that was such an inspirational moment. When Darren Albert went over and soon, Paul Harrigan, I think, was actually on the bench at the time, but just to see him get up and see the emotion in him, and then just seeing, what it did to the town, lit a real fuse in me to want to get to that stage, in my life. It made me always dream of wanting to get onto that field on grand final day and experience that feeling. And it's funny how it all works.